Kia ora, I'm Olvi and welcome back to the channel. Today this is a video dedicated to my mum to help her just, start being creative. And this video is just kind of focusing, it's quite a relaxing kind of format, so it will be focusing on kind of just where to start in a little sketch. The first thing I'll start with is find a scene that you kind of piques your interest outside the real world. Don't look at photos online or any photo references. Actually see your site for what it is outside. So this is outside my window, so this is what I will be looking at. And what piques my interest is quite a busy scene, so I want to kind of like, out of this scene, I want to pick what kind of look like I really like the look of. And actually, I like this little corner of the building up here, just with the roof showing and with the trees revealing. It's got some interest. So it's got multiple things happening. It's not just like pure tree. It's not like a complicated building. It's got a little bit of a roof showing, so it hints at something other than just trees. And yeah, I just really love the look of it, personally. It might be just one flower, or a random feather you find on the floor, or maybe a wall, a window. Just pick a section, kind of. Don't worry about all this mess around it. I won't be drawing it, I won't be sketching it. I'll just be focusing on this little square with the roof in it. And that's what you need to remember. Like, don't try and draw everything. Draw what you want, like, draw the section that piques your interest. Like, I don't like the look of all this messy foliage around it, I just like this. So enough with that. For this, it's going to be quite simple. I've got a 4B pencil. You can't really see it, but it is a 4B pencil. And that's just because you get a lot of tonal variation with it. And what I mean by that is, if I give you an example, so I can press quite hard, I can get quite dark lines, but if I press lightly, I can get quite faint lines, and then press harder, you get that harder, darker range. But if the lighter I press, the more, so you get quite the tonal range, so dark to light, quite variable, compared to, if I'll give you an example, if I use a 2H pencil, so 2H, which doesn't have quite a large tonal range, so I'm pressing quite hard here, but it's just not as dark as the 4B, which means it doesn't have like as much of a tonal range. So yeah, stick with like a 2B, 4B, or a 6B. 4B is my sweet spot, personally. And so I've got this blank page, and it's like, where do I even begin? Like, it's quite an intimidating setting, especially if it's not from a photo, which is already framing what you want to draw. So I'll just look at it, and first thing that stands out to me is the roof. So what I'm going to do is do like a very quick sketch of the site, just so I have it like mapped out. And it doesn't need to be perfect. Well, first I'm going to actually create a little box to draw in, because it doesn't need to be perfect. That is the wonkiest box, but it's okay. It doesn't need to be perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the roof. It's quite straight line, angled down, straight line again. That's all I'm going to do. Straight line, angled down, straight line again. And then from there, I know that there are trees surrounding it, so I'm going to, instead of drawing all the detailed trees, I'm just going to scribble kind of the flow of the trees. So it kind of flows out like that. So what I'm drawing is like this rough line around the trees. And it kind of goes out again here. And there are two little pillars, which I'll just block out with some squares. So that is my blocking out stage. It didn't take me long, just because I was getting the basic shapes down before I start adding details. It's really helpful, and it may look messy now, but it's just a start. So you just want to map out a small basic shape. It doesn't need to be perfect. You just want to get something down on the paper. You commit to the paper by scribbling on it, basically. You can also test the tonal value of your pencil first if you want to just familiarize yourself with it. Oh, my camera is out of focus. There we go. So yeah, if you want to familiarize yourself with the tonal value, you can always just test that out first. So from here, I can see that there are a few lines that kind of follow this initial slanted line downwards. So I'm going to just draw those in. The way I work is that I have the thought of, it doesn't need to be perfect. I just at the end of the day, it's another sketch. Like, I can always turn the page if I don't like it and move on. So what I just did was add a bit of tone where you can kind of see up there's a bit of a shadow. So I just slanted my pencil down and added that tonal, like, darker shadow. And then that's the same with up here. There's a bit of a extra block out, and you can add and take away stuff as you go with this. So say you like, oh, actually this bit will be covered with tree. You can rub that out as you go, or you can do what I usually do and avoid using the eraser and just commit to the marks you make. But that does take time, just to feel confident enough to be like, actually it's okay if it's not perfect, because it took me a very long time to get into that mindset of, nah, it doesn't have to look like what I see, it just has to be my interpretation of what I see. Next I'll kind of shade in the pillars. So there isn't really any light source, so like the sun isn't shining up here and like giving light from one particular direction. It's kind of all around because it's quite a cloudy day. So I'm just going to add a little bit of shadow to either side of the pillar thing. I think they're from like a factory or something, but it kind of gives it a bit of shape and structure to it, adding the shading. It really makes a difference. And I'm just like pressing lightly, holding on the side, kind of shading either side of the roof tiles. Doesn't need to be perfect, just very lightly. There we go. And then the clouds, I'm going to do the foreground, so the stuff with the trees last, just because that's the most difficult part for me personally. Because yeah, I do struggle with some drawing things. Of course, I'm not perfect, and it's a new setting, new scene, so I'm just kind of easing myself into the stuff. So I'm just doing the clouds. I'm not going based off the clouds exactly, because that would be just too stressful. So I'm just adding a bit of shading lightly down the bottom, and then lighter as I go up, kind of like forcing you to think that it's a clouds in the sky a bit without giving you much detail. So this is what it looks like up close. And then the tree, which I am not gonna draw every single leaf you see there, like, I'm not gonna do that to myself. Oh, that's a perfect kind of view of what I'm framing right now. Anyway, ignore my light in the back, reflecting off the window. It doesn't open any wider, so I can't move that. But for the trees, I'm just scribbling. Scribbling is my favourite technique. You just kind of like hint at the idea of like a branch that's got some leaves off it. So, like, these are leaves, kind of like, and the more scribbles you do, the more realistic it, the more like, oh, you force your brain to be like, oh yeah, I see the leaves. But I'm just doing like little kind of flowing motions, so letting the flow of the hands like curve it around. So it's like quite a natural flow these leaves have. Just kind of scribbling it a little bit, like making up the lines basically, because at the end of the day it's just for fun, it's just a practice, and it doesn't need to be slow. You can take your time with it if you want to get it more accurate, but I'm just here to have fun, enjoy it, and not worry about perfecting it, because I'm going to turn this page, I'm going to forget about it, and I'll come back and I'll be able to see the progress. I'll be able to analyze it and see what I liked and didn't like about the drawing. And you just got to keep a good mind. Like, make sure if you are going to analyze your own drawings, just keep trying to try to be positive. Find something you do like about it. Find something that you really like what you did. You know, like, I'm quite happy with this foliage at the moment, but I also can see that the roof isn't quite how I like it. But now I know, like, the reason I don't like the roof is because right now it's blending in with the clouds too much and doesn't have enough separating it from the background. But those are things I can work on, or maybe, yeah, just doesn't need to be perfect, but yeah. And like, you might not, I'm just doing the simple shapes of it and kind of repeating it. So this is the simple shape of the leaves I see. I'm just slowly going along those lines that I briefly followed earlier. So yeah, and then for a different plant, which is this one out the back here, this one, I'm just doing smaller scribbles, like more circular scribbles. So the plants each have their own unique scribble pattern that you can kind of point out, and so these are more, and these ones are more circular scribbles. So yeah, lots of different types of scribbles. But yeah, and yeah, I'm just following that same kind of mark making, not even really looking at the reference anymore, because I just want to get those marks down, and then I want to shade a little bit, not this area, just the outside area, kind of giving the illusion that this is all in the shade and not seen, compared to these parts which are more highlighted now because it has the most white on the page left. But there's just a quick 14 minute sketch, and it's not perfect by any means, but it's a start. I'm happy with it, and at the end of the day I'm going to turn the page, and if I want to do it again I can do it again, and I can practice. But if you have picked like a little flower or just a particular area or view that you really like, it does help drawing it more than once. So this is my first time trying to draw what I see outside right now. But tomorrow, I can try and draw the same thing again, but with a fresh perspective, a fresh view, and and see what that mind brings. So tomorrow I might have a different perspective on it, or there might be different lighting, like it might be sunny, it might be dark, it might be, things can affect how you see it. So it is good to maybe revisit what you just drew in a week, and a day, even a month. But it is good to have a look back and just appreciate that you did create something today, and I'm really proud of you. And don't stop being creative. It is hard, definitely, but that's what I'm here for. I'm gonna try and help, So thank you guys for watching. Have an amazing rest of your day, evening, night, or whatever. I'll see you next time. See ya.